What's up, church family? This is Pastor Ron coming to you live, and we'll get this shared to the Inside Scoop real quick and get kicked off. We are going to return to in person uh, eventually, probably sometime in August. So look forward to being back together with you in person, but for the time being, we're going to stay live. I'm hoping that we can continue to stay live or I'm hoping that we won't have to go back to online live services. Share this. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news or not, but, or looking at that. But in Washington, they're requiring masks indoors again. Um, in Oregon, they haven't decided. We got the school year coming up, and I'm just hoping we don't have a repeat of what we've seen for the last 2 years. So let's be praying about that and let's be mindful of uh, of all of these things. You know, you can sit there and say, "Oh, it's a government conspiracy," but people are dying from this, so um, it's it's just a little bit more complicated than that, and it's a tricky balance between personal liberty and public health. Um, and I'm not going to get into that today, but or everybody has their opinions, I guess, on exactly what that means. And I'm not here to really address either side of that, but it does have an impact upon the church, and so because of that, we need to pray. Now, we can look at all the negative impacts it could have, but we can also look at potentially some of the positive impacts, which I think we'll talk about maybe a little bit in this lesson. But let's go ahead and pray. I don't know if can't think of any particular prayer request. I did spend most of the day in the ER Saturday, so prayers for me would be appreciated. I had a blockage in my esophagus, which was not fun. And we have some, I have a follow up appointment to kind of see what's going on there. I'd appreciate and covet your prayers. If you do have something, if you want to drop it into the comments or send us a private message or whatever, we'd love to pray for you. And let's continue to pray for our nation. Obviously, uh, we're still in the midst of this COVID stuff, and so let's pray for that. God would help guide us, give us great wisdom. Pray that He would help the church persevere through this time. And if you got, we're pushing to 25, and so let's pray that God would help us to get to 25. Maybe there's someone on your heart right now that you could pray for. And let's mention them as we pray. God, we thank you for the ability to come together again. Lord, I think we take for granted so many things that are so important. Lord, I don't want to take things for granted. So, Lord, I'm thankful for everything that we have, God. It may not be perfect, but we are so blessed. We are so tremendously blessed in so many ways. God, I'm thankful for what you have given us. I pray for our nation, Lord. I pray for the whole world, the state of the whole world, and COVID, and all of the stuff that they're talking about. That it's way beyond any one of us. And uh, God, I pray that you give us great wisdom. Help us to have great understanding of the times and the hour in which we live in. Lord, let us not live selfishly. Lord, let's prefer one another above our own selves. Let's not do anything to cause needless suffering, God, but also, just help us to make good decisions for our own personal health. And Lord, I pray that you'd help lead us and guide us in that pursuit. Help us as a church as we continue to tread in these waters that are largely unknown, unprecedented times. And we don't. We hope we're doing a good job. And God, we know with your direction, we we will do your will. I pray for my health, God, that you would just help me recover and help me to overcome the infirmity that I've recently had to deal with. We pray for 25, God. Help us to get to 25, Lord. I pray that our heart, our mindset would completely change. I pray, Lord, that we would be cognizant of it every single day to reach out to those around us and invite them to church or invite them to a Bible study or just let them know something good about Jesus. I pray, Lord, that you would help us to be that light, that salt that you talked about in your word. Lord, let us make a tremendous impact in these last days. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, church, if you've been around, you know that my mind is pretty steadfast on the harvest. And I believe that we need to be reaching and working more than ever before. And I think as part of this lesson, although my slides aren't really built this way, we're going to be talking a lot about in reach, which when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about personal devotion, prayer, study, fasting, talking about a lot of in reach, uh, making ourselves better, working on our spiritual man, and then also outreach, which is reaching out to those around that are around us and inviting them to church or telling them about something good God has done or just something, just a seed. Um, let's be planting seeds. Even yeah, it's just so heavy on me. Even being in the ER, it's all I was thinking about is just reaching people and making sure that they know. And I wasn't ever at a point where I felt like I was, critical, that I was going to pass away in that next few minutes or the next few hours, but I was a little shaken. It definitely made just really brought to the forefront of my mind that my time is limited, and have I done everything I could to reach people? And I'm not reaching them for my sake. I think that's one of the problems that we run into, is that so much of our outreach is based upon how we want to feel and our comfort level and all of that, and it's just focused on us, and we need to get rid of that and start focusing on the harvest. Start focusing on the people who desperately need hope, desperately need Jesus. There is a reason why you and I are in the church today, and it's not because of some great program, and it's not because of some eloquent speaker or some great music or whatever. We're in the church because God has done something in our lives, and it was something that we desperately needed. And I am so thankful. I'm so thankful that I had the Lord to lean upon while I was in the emergency room. And every single person around us who doesn't know the Lord is living without that. And they're going through tragic situations. And maybe they're putting on a smile every single day, but that smile, I promise you, is so shallow without the Lord. And we just need to constantly be reaching, constantly being cognizant of the fact of that 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 this is available for them, and we should care. We should care that uh, people are living less than what they could be. And um, my heart just aches. I really believe that the heartbeat of Jesus is souls, 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 souls. And he has chosen us to be his hands and his feet, his mouthpiece. He's chosen the foolishness of preaching. He's chosen us to go and preach the gospel, to teach and to baptize, and it is the greatest work that we will ever be a part of for the rest of eternity. And just feel like we get distracted, or maybe we've been distracted. And so I want to teach tonight about it. It's time to get back to work. And I don't think any one of us have, thrown in the towel and haven't been doing anything. I mean, I think all of us feel like we're trying, right? But we got to try harder. We got to do more. Um, and I just don't know what else to do. As I don't know when the Lord is coming back, but I know that it's closer today and it'll be closer tomorrow than it was the day before. And with each passing day, with each passing moment, that's less time for people to get right with God. So we need to get back to work, and I think that there's been events that have stirred the church. In the 80s, there was a huge movement. In fact, I believe there was a book written like 88 Reasons Why the Lord's Coming Back in 1988. The church kind of rallied around this thought that God was coming soon. Um, Y2K, uh, there was a lot of hysteria around Y2K, and it brought a lot of attention to the church. Mayan calendar, not too many years ago. The Mayan calendar only went to a certain date, and some people thought that might be the time that Christ was going to come back. And then today, with the state of the world, with COVID, and our society seeming to plunge deeper and deeper into the darkness of worldliness, there's never been a time like this before. There never probably will be a time like this before again. And God has entrusted His work to you and I. You may not feel adequate, but maybe you can take some assurance in the fact that God believes you can do it. God believes you and I can do it, and He's called us for such a time as this. I so believe that it's time to get the plow out, to get the wagons ready. It's time to get out there. Matthew 24:36 through 51 says, "But of that day and the hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then two men will be in the field, and one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect. Who then is faithful and a wise servant, whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is the servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and at an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him off or cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Um, I think sometimes we feel like that we've done everything that we can do. And just part of my personality is I tell people, if you come to our church, you're going to be challenged. I'm just part of my nature is just constantly challenging myself, and I think that bleeds over into my ministry. But when I read scriptures like this, I just can't help but get this overwhelming feeling that we do not have the luxury to take our foot off the pedal. We don't have the luxury to to take a rest from the cause, from this great work that we have to do. Now that looks different, right? The way that we labor in the field looks different. I talk to the church how, the things that we enjoy doing, we can incorporate that into our outreach to reach people in the world. It's not that you have to sit there and go knock 1,000 doors or make 1,000 phone calls or hand out a 1,000 cards or whatever. But you know we can you can outreach in so many different ways. And so and I think oftentimes we get uh, intimidated by what might first come to our mind. And I think a lot of people are like me and some not like me, but going up to strangers and just talking to them is not the most comfortable thing. And I understand that, but and it's easy sometimes to get distracted, and it's easy sometimes just to justify taking a rest from working in the harvest. Or it's easy to justify that it's not our individual responsibility. That's the pastor's job. That's so and so's job because they're good with people. But I'm telling you, church, we don't have the luxury of time. We don't have the luxury of, you know, waiting until everything becomes perfect in order to get out there and start really doing the will of God. Start fulfilling the calling that God has in our life. Yeah, you are called. It's not just preachers that are called. It's not just musicians that are called. It's not everyone is called. Everyone is called to reach their neighbor, to reach their family, to reach their coworkers. And we don't know when the master is coming back and we need to make sure that we are actively working when he does come back. Yeah, I'm convinced that one of the reasons why we don't know when he's coming is because if we did, most of us would do what we probably are already guilty of with so many other things, and that is procrastinate. If God had appointed 2025 as the year that he was going to come back, then we might not be pushing as fervently. There's this saying that says this: live every day as if it's your last. One of the things I contemplated while I was sitting in the ER was, would it be better to know that you're going to die? For instance, you get the diagnosis that you only have a few years left to live, and that would give you the ability to live every day as if it's your last because your time is, you know, set, right? Like you may not make it past this point, and it would give you time to put your affairs in order, potentially, say your goodbyes, whatever it may be. I was wondering if that might be better than not knowing uh, when that day is, as if tomorrow, you get behind the wheel and that is your last day on earth. What would be better? Surely if it took time, there would be suffering involved, but there would also be the potential for you to get, like I said, your affairs in order. Whereas if it was sudden, it shortens the suffering, but leaves things, uh, potentially undone. And so what would be better? Well, I think the best thing would be is to live your days as if this could be your last days. If you lived your days as in a state where your affairs were in place, so if you were to pass tomorrow or if you were to pass 10 years from now, things would be in order. Uh, I just think that's probably the wisest way to live. And when it comes to the Lord, it certainly is the wisest way to live because it's not just you that you don't know if there's another day for. It could be those people around you. Um, there are tragic stories of people. I heard this preached. A preacher was, preaching one time, and he felt like God was telling him to go and reach this person. He's like, okay, God, I'll do it, but I'll do it tomorrow. I don't feel like doing it right now. And that person ended up committing suicide that night. And he said, you know what? I will never, ever miss an opportunity to reach out to someone again because it's not just our time that's potentially limited, it's their time that's potentially limited. And I think if there's a challenge that we are facing, and we are facing so many challenges, the biggest challenge we might be facing is we are self-absorbed, that everything revolves around us as opposed to everything revolving around his call, right? His kingdom, his purpose. And I need help with that. And I'm sure a lot of us need help with that, but we need to address this. We can't avoid it. We have so many mechanisms to avoid this, church. We have entertainment and hobbies and friends and goals and all of these things, and none of these things really matter in the end. They're all burn away. And whether our 401k gets to a certain point, or we get to that promotion, or we find true love, or any of these things, quite frankly, when we get to eternity, uh, we can't take any of the money with us. We can't take any of the possessions with us. We're not going to be given in marriage over there. And so all of these things that we're completely absorbed and consumed with, and they all typically revolve around us, they don't have an eternal impact. Now, I, I don't know, like, I don't know if God's going to just cause me to keep talking about this until we have a culture change or a mind shift or whatever. I need it too, church. I need it. Um, this the hope of this city, this county, the people, in your life is you, and it's me, and that's a heavy burden, but it's a burden that we can't ignore. It's we have to answer that call, and it's we got to get we got to get back to work. We have to always be ready. The Bible talks about being ready in season and out of season. We have good days, we have bad days. Sometimes we feel spiritual, sometimes we don't. But when it comes to the harvest, when it comes to the Lord, we always have to be ready. Matthew 25, 1 through 13. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took up their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. The wise took oil in their vessels and with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, Behold, the bridegroom is coming, and go out to meet him. And then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Assuredly, I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. So I talked about in reach and outreach, and this would be the scripture I would use to talk about the in reach. We got to be in prayer. We have to be in the Word. We have to maintain our relationship with God. And again, it's so easy to get distracted by the things of the world. It's so easy to get preoccupied with this chore and this hobby and that hobby and this thing we have to do and that thing we have to do. But again, all of those things are are fleeting. They're temporal, but we have to maintain that relationship with God. We have to maintain and make sure that our lamps are filled with oil, and we don't have the luxury of becoming lackadaisical, because we don't know when he'll come. And and just like the wise virgins, they kept their lamps full. And even when it came to when they knew he was just about there, they still had this mindset of, no, we have to keep the lamps full. And as soon as it was announced he was coming back, there was some time that happened in between, but they were prepared, and those who weren't uh, were found without. And I will tell you, church, and I've talked about this before, I feel like this need to double down. We need to double down in prayer. This A weak prayer life isn't enough. And we need to find time with the Lord. We need to meditate on his word. We you know and I think, probably out of everything that we do, probably studying is one of the better things that we do. We're active in Bible study and there's tons of resources and we read our Bible and we're hopefully there on Sunday to hear the preach word. And so we're getting a lot of fulfillment for that. But man, I just wonder what our prayer closets look like. I tell you, I don't feel like mine's good enough. Uh, I feel like we need to have a deeper call to prayer. In fact, I think, one of the reasons why we have such a hard time with the outreach is because some of the end reach is lacking. So let's make sure our oils or our lamps are full of oil. Let's make sure our lives are full of the Spirit. Uh, make sure that we're connecting to God each and every day. Now, it may not look like, an hour of just focused prayer, but I've just been so challenged to make sure that every part of my day, I'm connected and I'm listening and, you know, whatever he asks me to do, I can act upon no matter where I'm at. And it's okay not to know how. He might tap you on the shoulder and ask you to do something. And how can I do this right now? And I'm in the middle of something or whatever it may be. But, it's okay to ask God, hey, how can I do this or help me to do this, right? Um, the disciples asked God, teach me to pray. The father with the son who was possessed with the devil said, I believe, but help my unbelief. And let's just keep it real with God. And we may not be where we need to be, but ask God to help us be where we need to be. And let's just put in the time. Let's put in the effort. Let's care. Let's care about it. Maybe it's apathy that we're struggling with. I don't know, but time's running out, church. Time is running out. And just doing the same old, just isn't getting it done. I do believe that there was a day you could open up your church doors and gather a crowd. It's not the day we're living in. We got to get out there. We got to reach them. We got to do something. We just got to do something. Matthew 25:14 through 30, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to him. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. And when he had received the 5 talents, went and traded with him, or then he who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. And likewise, he who received 2 talents received 2, gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. And after a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with him. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You are faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. He also, who had received 2 talents, came and said, Lord, you've delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I gained 2 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you would be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered. And I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But the Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There's a lot of things that we could say about this scripture, but I think the resounding theme is this: just do something with what God has given you. You may feel like a one talent person. In fact, the Bible says that he gave talents according to their ability, which means the person who got 5 talents had more ability than the person who had one. But the moral of the story was just to do something. He said, at least you should have given it to the bankers. You should have given it to someone else. So there could have been some sort of interest. He didn't demand double. He didn't demand, you know, any percentage of increase. He just wanted to see an increase, and we have to do something. Maybe you're not going to go out and teach 50 Bible studies. I've challenged myself with every single day inviting one person to church. It might just be a card that I give them. I handed out a card yesterday. It might be sending a very sincere message to someone, or calling them up on the phone, or doing something creative, like I don't know, you know making a care package and just you know giving it to people around you, right? Delivering it to uh, to your next door neighbor, right? Just I hope you're okay care package. Oh, by the way, here's an invitation to church. Just pray about it. Let the Lord use you. One thing, I just ordered a speaker, and you know, on Thursday nights, I'm gonna go and just play in the park. I'm just gonna play and sing. I'm gonna have some cards ready. Maybe people pay attention to it. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But it's something. We just need to do something. Talk to someone about the Lord. And again, we're going to get all bent out of shape, and we're going to get all uncomfortable with that idea. We may not know what to say, and we're going to just begin to think about us. I plead with you, I beg you, think about them. Think about where they're going if you don't reach them. Think about the hurt and pain that they're carrying around because they don't have the Lord to rest their burdens on. Think about the terrible marriages and the addictions and the children that don't have a safe place to go home at night. Think about those that are hungry, those that are dealing with all sorts of sicknesses that the doctors have no answers for, but we have an answer for them. That answer is Jesus. Let's get our eyes off of ourselves. It may cause a little discomfort, but if we can just save one child, if we can just reach one family, if we can just save one marriage, it'll all be worth it. And we got to get out. We have to do something with what the Lord has given us. You might not be the most talented, you might not be the most friendly, but find something you can do. Find some way that you can reach the lost. And in the world that we live in today, it might not even be someone in our city or in our county. It might be someone states away. It's okay. This is the kingdom of God. We're all in this together. And just let's just do something, church. Let's do something. We can't just be okay with having good church. We can't be okay with just the Lord speaking to us. I want God to speak to us. I want God to move in our life. I want as much as God as I can possibly have. I hope that He blesses everything that we put our hands to. But this isn't about us. This is about everyone. And God isn't giving us these things, or God hasn't given us these things just so we can have a better quality of life, or we can feel like that we're somebody or something. Let's just do something. We don't have to, and I'm not talking like, being Philip and going to Samaria and preaching and seeing signs, miracles, and wonders. Let's just keep it easy. Just hand a card, just post something on Facebook, private message someone, do a well check. Just knock on someone's door and just see if they're doing okay. See what God does. I feel like uh, Jonathan, he Saul, or son of Saul, he's sitting there and he's looking at the enemy, and he tells his armor bearer, he's like, hey, let's go over there. Maybe God will do something. Literally a maybe God will do something. And he says, if they call us up, let's go to them. But if they don't call us over, then we won't go. And they call him up. He walks into a garrison. He walks into a group of armed people with just him and an armor bearer on. Just maybe God will do something. That's all it is. It's just a maybe God will do something. Let's put ourselves in places where maybe God will do something. Let's hand a card. Maybe God will do something. Let's reach out in a private message. Maybe God will do something. Let's make that phone call. Maybe God will do something. And I guarantee as we start to get out of our own little box, God will start to do something. Will he do it with everyone? Well, every time we step out, will it work? No. People will have excuses. Luke 14:15-24. Now when one of those who sat at the table with him heard these things, he said to him, blessed is he who will eat bread in the kingdom of God. And he said to him, a certain man gave a great supper and invited many, but sent his servant at supper time to say to those who were invited, come, for all things are now ready. But they all with one accord began to make excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a piece of ground. I must go and see it. I ask you to have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm going to test them. I ask that you have me excused. Still another said, I have married a wife, and therefore cannot come. So the servant came and reported these things to the master. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servants, go out quickly into the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in here the poor and the maimed and the lame and the blind. And the servant said, master, it is done as you have commanded, but still there is room. Then the master said to the servant, go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. For I say to you that none of those men who were invited shall taste my supper. Yeah, people are going to have a lot of excuses. Yeah, you're going to invite some people and they're not going to come, or they're going to give you some lame excuse. Listen to these excuses. They're lame, and people are going to give us lame excuses too. But I tell you, we just got to keep reaching. And when they say no, we just got to find another person, or to go out and ask to. It is it is insulting. I promise you, God is the great. He is worthy of all the glory and 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 majesty and all of our praise. Right? The Bible says that if we were to be quiet, the rocks would begin to cry out. And how how disrespectful, or I'm searching for the word, but when his house is empty, what a tragedy that is. What a tragedy it is. And he is worthy for his house to be full. And yeah, there'll be excuses, but and it might get frustrating, and it's hard to get told no, and rejection's hard. But I promise you, there are people, thousands, thousands of people that are willing to say yes. If we would just get out of our own bubble, if we would just do something with what God has given us, there will be people that come. We just need to do something. This will be hard. There's no question. It's not, you know, there's a saying, anything worth doing will be hard. This is hard. Outreach is hard. Reaching people is hard. Being a Christian is hard. Life is hard. But yeah, it'll create some awkward conversations. It might jeopardize some friendships. But I tell you, One thing you do as a parent because you love your children is sometimes you show them tough love, not because that's what you want to do. I, I, I struggle with this all the time. I just want to help my son. I just want to do it for him, right? And there are selfish reasons why I want to do that, and then there are reasons because I don't want to see him suffer. But if you really care for your children, you gotta let them learn. You have to let them learn, right? You have to let them go through some hard times, and it's hard to sit back and it's hard to discipline your children. I know our children probably think, oh, you have a good time disciplining us, but that's not the case at all. Like, last thing I want to do is spend an hour lecturing my son over something. Last thing I want to do is have to give him a spanking. Like, there are a million better things that I would want to do with my time than to do any of those things. But it's important that we make that investment. It's important that we stay consistent in discipline. And we do it because we love them. Well, not because it's easy, because it's hard. Being a parent is hard. Knowing the right thing to do is hard. I don't always know what to do. Sometimes you're just figuring it out as you go, and that's the way it's going to be with reaching the lost. Sometimes we're just going to be figuring it out. There's all these different people saying, well, you should do this and you should do that. You should pray 10 hours a day, and then you should outreach for 5, and you got to work full-time job and spend time with the family, and you got to study, at least 2 hours a day. And man, just it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Yeah, it'll be hard. I don't have the answer. There's no perfect, there's no 12-step program to this. 2 Timothy 3:12 through 14, it says, yes, and all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. But evil men and impostors will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But you and me must continue in all the things which we have learned and be assured of, knowing from whom you have learned them. Romans 8:31 through 39. What then shall we say of these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but uh, delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall bring a charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is he who condemns? It is Christ who died, and furthermore is also risen, who is even at the right hand of God, who also makes intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Yet in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life nor angels nor principalities nor powers nor things present nor things to come nor height nor depth nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. You know why we have this scripture? Because those are all things that we can face for the cause of Christ. Yeah, it's not easy, and I get it. I totally sympathize with the fact that it's hard to talk to strangers and it's hard to get out of our comfort zone. And I think most of us spend our time trying to make sure that our life is as disruptive as possible. It's as smooth sailing as possible. I know that's how I try to live my life. I don't want drama. I don't want, you know, that in my life. I don't want it to be harder than it has to be. Doing some of these things is going to create some complications and it's going to create some stress. It's going to create some discomfort. It will. But I tell you, the cause is greater. The cause is greater. And the reward is greater. I work in sales, and most of my job is rejection. Most of what I do is rejection. But I tell you, when you get that one big deal, when you get that one win, when you've been working hard and you might not get 9, of those customers that you've been working hard on, but you got the one that drives, it fuels you to get the next one or two, or who knows. Every day is an opportunity. Every phone call is an opportunity. Every email is an opportunity. Who knows where it will end? Who knows how it will end up for you? I've learned this, that uh, the only thing worse than doing something that isn't the best is doing nothing at all. And what I mean by that is, I may not put together my best email, but it's some of my worst emails that have led to some of my biggest opportunities. I may fumble around with this. I may sound stupid to the customer, but but being in front of them is better than doing nothing, because nothing nets nothing. Zero will always net zero. And although I may go out in front of a customer and I may look stupid and sound stupid, and I may misspell a word, or I may, write sentences that don't make sense at all, and they may look at it, who's this guy and who's this idiot or whatever, uh, that was still more productive than doing nothing at all. Because sometimes those silly things that happen turn into a funny conversation, or you look back and it gives you another reason to reach out and whatever. It's just, you can make something with something. Even the Lord chose the dust of the earth to form man. God used something to create something. Now, yes, he can create out of nothingness, but I'm just saying, you know, you got to get out there. And some of what I felt like were my worst messages are the ones that people come up after words and just like, wow, God really spoke to me. And some of the ones that I just felt like I knocked it out of the park, man, just didn't move the needle at all. But you just got to do something. Who knows? Maybe God will do something, and it will be hard, but it will it will be worth it. 2 Corinthians 4:16-18 says, therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we do not look at the things which are seen, but at things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. It will be worth it. Man, if we just get one more person in the church, it'll be worth it. Someday when we die, get to hear those words, well done, a good and faithful servant. It will be worth it. And it's crazy. It's just amazing that the things that we think are not working are sometimes the things that work. Yeah. Alyssa, who's part of our church today, is in part here because of a mailer that we just we did, hoping it could reach someone, and for years didn't bear any fruit. And then I tell you, she's been such a wonderful blessing to our congregation. But I never, I thought that was all a waste of time and a waste of money. But with God, nothing is impossible. And I hope you catch that. With God, nothing happening is impossible. So if we go out, and I don't know how better to describe faith than, God, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do something. That's faith. That's saying, God, I don't trust in myself, but I trust at least enough in you that something's going to happen. And there might be some funny stories and interesting things, but there might be some people who decide to give this a try, show up to church, get into a Bible study, get baptized, receive the Spirit. It will be worth it. It's a light affliction for the moment, but it's working a far more exceeding an eternal weight of glory in us. And we can't lose heart. We got to keep working. We got to keep working. I hope to God. I hope to God. I'll tell you, I am so fearful that this burden, that I'm the only one that's carrying this. I'm so fearful because I can't do this without the rest of the church. I can't. We're called to be a body. We're called to do this together. And, you know, Mordecai told Esther, he said, you've been called for such a time as this, but he goes, if you don't answer that call, God's going to raise up another. And I don't want God to raise up someone other than me. I want to answer the call. I want you to answer the call. We are here for such a time as this. For this time, this season, we may look around and say, this is the worst time. No. The harvest is ripe. It's ready. But are we laboring? The Lord said, pray for the Lord of the harvest that he'd send laborers. Some believe that's angels, and I tend to lean on, I think that's us. We would just get out of our own little bubble, start going and reaching the world. Maybe you just take a walk to say, God, maybe you'll put someone in my path, or maybe you could pray, God, put someone upon my heart, or I don't know. There's so many things. Like I said, I'm going to go and set up my piano and just play and sing. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't, part of me thinks maybe someone's going to call the cops on me. They're going to kick me out. I don't know. But just going to make myself available. Who knows what God will do for someone who's willing to be available? Who knows? So, church, I hope you're catching the burden. Hope you're making an investment. Hope you're inviting people. However, just do something. Just do something. Let's pray. God, help us. Help us to give it the attention to this that is so desperately needed. Help us not to ignore it or to be distracted by the many, many things that so easily detour us, God. God, help us to see your house full. Help us to see your house full. God, and once the house is full, I don't know what's going to happen, but at least they'll be there to hear the word, and at least they'll have an opportunity. Something can happen. Pray, Lord, that you would inspire us and give us ideas. I get we may not all be the most social. We might even consider ourselves socially awkward, but Lord, I just pray that we would give you something to work with, an opportunity to do something. Let us see a great harvest, God, come in and it begin to compound and multiply, and other churches be started, and let there be great growth, Lord. I don't know, God. I don't have all the answers. I know the people listening don't have all the answers. But just all you need us is to be willing to do something. So God, that's my prayer. We would be willing to do something and we would go out and do that. God, as we do, that you would be with us. We love you. We thank you, God. You're such a good God, an amazing God. Thank you for another day and another opportunity. Thank you, Lord, for this conviction, God, that you've placed upon our church. Let us go and do the work that so desperately needs to be done. In Jesus' name. Amen. You're dismissed in Jesus' name. We love you. Thank you. I hope no one takes this as a rebuke of or a thought of that. I don't think we're doing anything. It's just let's go out and do more. Let's do it more often. And it, even if it's just handing a card or leaving a card in a laundromat or whatever, let's just do something and see what God can do with it. I hope you all have a good night. We hope to see you Sunday. We got the nacho feed coming up. Invite someone to the nacho feed. Just let us know that they're coming so we're prepared. Can't wait to be with you all again. Lord bless.